Today we're going to be talking about the Elwell Timberline system, which is the typical system we use to do both hot water and hot air furnace in the vehicles. It uses either gasoline or diesel from your vehicle's fuel tank. It can also use electric power. The way this system works is it actually heats and circulates hot automotive coolant, and we'll look at some of the components and how that works later. Right now we're going to go over just the basic operations of the system. So why don't we come on in the van, we'll check it out. All right, so now we're going to talk about how this Elwell Timberline system works. This is the control unit for it. Very user-friendly, very intuitive. Really simple. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose my power source for running the water heater or the furnace. On the bottom right hand corner would be electric power. On the bottom left would be fuel power, so whether it be diesel or gasoline. For this instance, I'm going to choose fuel power. So I'm going to go ahead and touch that, and it will light up red, meaning it's going to use diesel from this Sprinter's fuel tank to power the system. If I want hot water, I simply tap the hot water button. Turns the hot water heater on. Give it about 5 minutes, it will heat up and you'll have continuous hot water. It's an on-demand system. Once it heats up, you can run your entire tank of water through if you want to. If I want to do the furnace, all I'm going to do here is grab this little thermostat and crank it up to, I'm going to put it at 84 degrees there. So what that's going to do is turn on the furnace, blow hot air until it reaches 84 degrees in my van, and then shut itself off. And it will turn back on and off to maintain that temperature throughout the night. This far upper right button is the settings. There's one I want to show you. I'm going to skip through some of these. The important one to know about is the time duration of these systems. So the top one is the water, the bottom one is the system in general, and I can just use the touchscreen to set those times. What that does is shut the system off after a period of time. So if I've turned my water heater on, I walked away or I went on a hike and I forgot that I had it on, this will shut it off. Right now it's set to 56 minutes, so it will shut itself off. You can change that to whatever you'd like. Same thing for the bottom. If I want to run my heater, usually that's set at a day or 2 days, so it'll run a 24-hour period and shut itself off. You can set it up to infinite if you like. So if you're going to go out for a hike and go camp in the snow or do something like that and come back the next day, you'd want to set it for 48 hours and let it run as long as you like. That's the Elwell system basic operations in a nutshell. We're going to go in and look at some of the components that make that system work next. So now we're talking about the components of the Elwell Timberline system. There's 4 main components. The first component you don't see here is actually underneath the van, and this is the part that pulls fuel from the vehicle's fuel tank, burns that fuel and uses it to heat and circulate the hot automotive coolant. Coolant is its own contained system, so part number 2 is actually this coolant tank. Obviously system's not on right now because when it is, this tank gets really hot, but it's just straight automotive coolant. The lines from the coolant run under the van to that unit that burns the fuel from the vehicle and circulates that coolant in and makes hot coolant run through the system. The other 2 components, one of them's kind of tough to see, but this is the blower right here, which is your furnace. So it really is kind of a radiator type device where the coolant passes through that, a fan blows air through the radiator and creates the hot air for the system. The last component here is what we call a flat plate. So it's a flat plate water heater. So the coolant goes in, cold water goes in, cooler coolant comes out, and hot water comes out of that system. And once that heats up, it's like we mentioned, it's an on-demand system. Last but not least, kind of not a component of the system, but something we put in here is what's called a tempering valve. The tempering valve controls the maximum temperature of the hot water. So we set that to kind of a medium temp. You can make your maximum hot water either hotter or colder by adjusting that valve. That's the Elwell Timberline system in a nutshell. Awesome, game-changing system. Really great for those shoulder seasons and winter camping. Basic overview of that. If you have any further questions, give us a call at Field Van.